Hello and welcome to this edition of the Pulse Pod. It is the second ramble of the season and it's AFC Fylde away on Tuesday the 4th of March. Let's face it, it's not been the best time as of late following Hartlepool United. There's been a lot of negativity, a lot of negative results coming off the back of a loss to the not quite league leaders York, but they are certainly in the mix for automatic promotion. Unlike ourselves, it's been a barren period, not too much in the way to celebrate, but hopefully that will change tonight. Fingers crossed. No more Kevin Phillips at the helm for Fylde, so there's no risk of a former manager coming back to haunt us, which is always a good thing. However, can I see anything positive coming out of tonight? I do hope so. We seem to score a lot away from home. We certainly score more away from home than we do at home, but we do tend to concede more away from home as well. So, who knows how it'll go? I'm setting off probably in around about an hour's time. Hopefully, we can bring home 3 points. Fylde have played 7 times since their last home victory. That was a 2-0 victory on the 25th of January against Wealdstone. They've won 2, drawn 2 and lost 3 in that time, both victories coming on the road. They have got credible results away from home. They've beaten Altrincham, they've beaten Halifax, and they've got a point at Gateshead in their last game. However, they have been less than successful at home. They were beaten at home by Boston, who are in the relegation zone, and they have dropped points at home to the likes of Dagenham as well, who are in turmoil. So there is hope for Pulse. It's not strong hope, given our own recent form. The last away game I've been to, in fact the only away game I've been to this season, was the victory at Sutton, so it'd be nice if they could make a 2 from 2 for me tonight. Arrived at the ground. You can't ever say no to free parking at football, because that very rarely happens, and I'm delighted with that. It's bitterly cold again, because it always is whenever we come to Fylde. If anyone remembers the match a few years ago, well, before the pandemic now actually, when the Beast from the East came along and trapped a lot of fans on the west side of the A66, thanks to that snowstorm. And then the last time was a Tuesday night as well, and that was bitterly cold, so, you know, I didn't really expect anything else. There's a nice queue forming now as well, which signals I've probably got here just at the right time to get free parking. So I don't think many others are getting let in. Got the programme, £3, called the coaster, nice programme. It's interesting looking at their profile on Pulse. The key 3 players that they've highlighted are Gary Medine, Luke Charman and Tom Parks. It's an interesting key 3, I should say. I'd be interested to know if anyone agrees with that. I think Tom Parks is probably right. The other 2, I'd say, are more up for debate. Well, the one thing that you can say is that the PA system definitely works. The music's blaring out. I've heard worse soundtracks. The lineup's just come out. It's just before 10 to 7, as you can see by the lineup. David Ferguson in place of Jack Robinson, who's out with an injury, and Sam Follerin is also coming in place of Cleary. That'll be a very interesting change to see in effect. I'm struggling to see why Cleary's been dropped. His end product isn't spectacular, but he is probably the one player that you would say going forward has looked very good in terms of his build-up play. He just needed to add that final flourish. It's good to see Billy Sass-Davis back in. I appreciate that Luke Waterfall's out with a knock, so it was kind of obvious for him to come into that back 2 with Tom Parks. It's going to be an interesting one, to say the least. Great song choice, Smith's as Charming Man. I have just seen one of our keepers who's warming up boot the ball straight out of play while practicing distribution, so, you know, if that isn't a sign of what's to come, I don't know what is. Just before 7:05, players on their way out to warm up. Light blue kit. Keepers have been out around about 15 minutes or so. The Fylde team have been out probably about the same length of time. They've already been out 10 minutes or so, 10 to 15, at the opposite end of the pitch. I'm standing behind the goal, and they're warming up at our end first. Stewards just gone past as well. It's been quite a friendly welcome, to be fair. The stewards have been canny enough. Walked past asking if we'll win today, couldn't even lie. Wasn't particularly optimistic. We'll see. Just went down to the bottom of the stand to throw a ball back onto the pitch. Threw it over the goal, from directly behind the goal, I should say. Threw it from behind the goal onto the pitch without any spin, and it's bounced back into the goal from directly behind the goal. So that doesn't say something about the slope that the players will be playing on, shooting towards the end that I'm standing in. I mean, a bit bizarre, really. Two brilliant pronunciations from the PA announcer. We've just had Dan Dudes instead of Dan Dodds, and to be fair, I can't even repeat Manny Desaruwe's pronunciation because I don't know exactly what he's just said, but it definitely wasn't Desaruwe. Superb. The vast majority of the Pulse fans so far stood in this stand are stood to my left, which is where the training goal is for the Pulse players to practice shooting. Two of them so far have went over the bar and have narrowly missed at least two different people's heads. I've got to say though, the majority of them are quite sharp and on target, and quite a lot of them are going in, so swings and roundabouts and all that, but there's some very good finishing. Do you know what, it's a shame they're not going to replicate this during the match, but some of these shots are going top bins here. Some brilliant quality shots. Some of them are nearly hitting members of the fans, however quite a few of them are going top bins, bottom corner, very good quality. And as I say, it's just a shame that they don't replicate this during the game. He's just had another goal at the line-up. He has now mispronounced Dan Dodds again to Gakpo. Or in fact, it sounded like Gakpo anyway, I mean Gak Dodds or something. Then Jamie Milley, then Riz Cleary, as in Ray's Cleary, which is a great mispronunciation. Then had another go at Desaruwe and got it just as bad, if not even worse than last time. And as if you thought standing at this end of the stadium couldn't go any worse, they've just turned the sprinklers on. This end of the stadium is getting absolutely soaked. It's not quite coming into the stand yet, which is a good thing, but the goal line and the 6-yard area, and to be fair, the bits around the 6-yard area again, absolutely soaking wet. Interesting to see who shoots this way at the start of the game. I can see the sprinklers are on at the other end as well, but they're aiming away from the goal. The music selection is still half decent. It was better when the Smiths were on, but you know, the closer we get to kick-off. Joined by Pat and Isaac, who have been on the pod before. Pat, you were on last week, and you remember that your foreign player was Chris Shuka, who is not foreign, he's English, and he didn't go to Bradford, he went to Burnley. So I think your son's, you've got into trouble with your son for that, haven't you? But, and Isaac as well, good journey down here?
Yeah, brilliant. Came straight from work, so set off just after 4. Straight journey down, quite easy, and I was surprised how close it was to coming off. So brilliant, yeah.
Yeah, very good, Isaac.
Really good journey. Hit no traffic at all. We got here for 6:30. We went to the supporters bar, so a really good journey.
Yeah, very good. And as you can hear, everyone, the teams are just coming out now. The fans are in full voice, as you would expect, despite our recent form. Guys, do you reckon anything today?
I'm going for a win. I think on Saturday, I think we played really well against York, and I was okay with how it ended. I think today, I think we're going to win 2-1.
2-1. And Isaac, yourself?
2-1 Pils.
Scorer?
Miley, Jerry Miley.
Miley off the bench.
Yeah, Miley and Campbell.
Miley and Campbell off the bench. It wouldn't surprise me if this was a comeback victory.
Yeah, I agree. I think we'll go a goal behind. Then the two subs.
Yeah, subs making the impact off the bench. Cheers, guys. Hopefully it'll go well for us today. David Ferguson has just scored an absolute screamer of a free kick in off the far post, across the keeper, and just after the 4th minute, about 5 minutes in, an outstanding free kick to put Pulse ahead, 1-0. And that has deflated everything. To strike from about 20 to 25 yards out, it skips off the area that was being watered down earlier by the sprinklers. Adam Smith, it's pretty much in front of him, but it skips off the turf. It goes through his hands and in off the far post. It's a horrendous mistake, unfortunately. And it's 1-1 after 13 minutes. 2-1. Fairly simple rebound finish after about 4 players were involved in a collision to block a shot. There's a lot of discontent from the fans. It's turned around very quickly here at Mill Farm. 2-1. We've just had the 274th goalmouth scramble that Pulse have been involved in this season in the attacking half, and we still haven't converted one yet. It's at the other end and it's difficult to see, but honestly it's just not good enough, unfortunately. The amount of chances like that we create and can't convert, and somehow I think was that offside from a corner? Unbelievable. Well, that's half time. 2-1 to Fylde. Started oh so well when David Ferguson put an absolute screamer of a free kick in off the far post. Probably the goal of the season. If you haven't seen it, go on to Hartlepool United X, and there's a few comments there that have recordings of the goal on it. It was a sensational strike, and from that point onwards it went further and further downhill, unfortunately. 2 goals completely unavoidable. The first one, a shot from Gavin Massey, about 20-25 yards out, just to the right as we're seeing it of the goal. It's squirmed through Adam Smith, bounced once through his hands, in off the far post. I think the sprinklers did their job at the start of the game, where it's not really that much of an excuse, unfortunately. Should be doing better with that. And then the second one, equally avoidable. The man not followed into the box. A save, well, it was more of a block from Adam Smith, who came charging out. And credit to him, he closed the angle down, but it squirmed into the centre, and it was Callum Jolly who put the ball in past the players gathering on the line. Not good enough, unfortunately, overall. Been a couple of chances at the other end. Joe Gray and Gary Medine with a goalmouth scramble after a corner, and neither of them could convert. We've seen far too much of that this season, where they haven't been able to convert, not just those two, but many of the Pulse players, from a scramble in the box. And then at the very end of the half, there was a very good pass over the top from the left-hand side, and I am just checking who it was now. Not entirely sure. It may have been Nicky Featherstone. Unfortunately, just sort of, it came off and just lumped it towards the keeper, and unfortunately it was a one-on-one that the keeper was only too happy to defend, and that has been the story of the half, unfortunately. Not enough going forward. Ray's Cleary, in my opinion, has to come on at half-time. Following has been next to nowhere, unfortunately for him. This was his chance to make to stake a claim for the first team, and he hasn't done so. To be fair, there's not even been that much pace from him, because usually what's levelled at him is that he's all pace and no finishing product. He hasn't even been that tonight. And I think Manny Desirua has to come on as well to provide something up front. I don't know really. It's since that first 5 minutes, it's been a virtually nothing first half from us, from Hartlepool United. I can keep saying hopefully it changes, but we'll see what happens in the second half. Full time, 2-1. A second half in which pretty much nothing happened, quite frankly. It was just pointless. There was nothing from either side. It was of very low quality all round. Very little in the way of goalmouth action as well. Win that puts Fylde into 20th, above Wealdstone, and out of the relegation zone. We were toothless. We didn't look as though we had any guile going forwards. When Rhys Cleary came on, he was pretty much the only one looking to drive forward and create something. Overall, it was just limp. Not really any other way of describing it. It was just a woeful second half display, considering that we were the team that were behind in the game. And Fylde didn't have a lot of quality at all. There was just nothing. There was nothing about it. There was no... I mean, it's very difficult to accuse a team of not having any desire. But it didn't look as though there was any plan to go forward and score the second goal. As I say, Cleary, when he came on, looked good down the left-hand side. He looked like the only one looking to take on a man. I think David Ferguson had a very good game, especially given the season that he's had and the criticism that he's taken. Some right, some potentially wrong. Depends on your view. And let's face it, his free kick's going to be goal of the season as well. That was outstanding. But other than that, it's very difficult to pick out any positives, unfortunately. Bit of an unsavoury incident as well, with someone being... I think the kind word is escorted out by the stewards. The very unkind word was the virtual scrum that happened at the end of the stand. Bit difficult to speculate without knowing specifically what's going on. However, it looked a little bit unsavoury. Unfortunately, that provided most of the entertainment for a lot of the fans watching, rather than what was on the pitch, because what was on the pitch wasn't worth watching. It wasn't good enough. And the fact that we've been beaten by that Fylde side that had nothing, virtually nothing going forward. The only time they looked comfortable going forward was, well, when they had the ball and they weren't being pressed, which, to be fair, was quite a lot of the half. They looked as though they could move into the space, but at the end of it, they didn't really have anything at the end of it. A little bit like us. And unfortunately, they were the team in front, so they didn't really need to, because we didn't look like scoring. Campbell's effort at the end came close, but other than that, nothing. You've got to look towards the bottom of the table now as well, unfortunately, because we're 9 points off relegation at the moment. As I said before, Fylde have moved out of the relegation zone with that victory. Pretty much all of the teams below us, except for bottom of the table Ebbsfleet, have games in hand, at least one on us. And you'd think that a lot of them will be playing each other, etc. So we'll drop points here and there, but probability, like, they're going to get points. And unfortunately, we're not getting points. Not only are we not getting points, we're barely scoring. The only goal that we got tonight was thanks to a 30-yard screamer, which will definitely be goal of the season. We can't score from open play. I never thought I'd say that, because we could never score from corners, free kicks, etc. And it's turned around now. We can't score from open play. It's unbelievable, the decline of this squad from earlier on this season. Because the players in this squad have shown that they can get results. And currently, for whatever reason, whether it be the manager, the coaches, the club culture, the training methods, whatever it happens to be, the dissatisfaction with the owner, anything, they're not performing on the pitch, and serious questions need to be asked now, because unfortunately it's not good enough at all. That second half, there was nothing there against a team that at the time were in the relegation zone. There was absolutely nothing, and it's not as if Fylde outplayed us to win. They scored the 2 goals in the first half and they had nothing for the rest of the game. Nothing. And that wasn't down to us defending well. That was just down to the fact they couldn't create anything. They were basically a mirror reflection of us. But fortunately for them, they already had the lead. So they didn't need to. We just couldn't do anything. So questions need to be asked in the next week. I should say the week leading up to Eastleigh, because Eastleigh could quite easily do something embarrassing to us on Saturday. They're 8th, 4 points off the playoffs. They need a win to maintain that run of trying to get into the playoffs. They do have teams around them that have games in hand, so to be fair, it may well be unlikely, but something has to change, or otherwise this end of season run could get very, very uncomfortable very quickly. Because the likes of Wealdstone and Maidenhead, Dagenham, Fylde, Aldershot, Braintree who will be lows, and the others who will be lows as well. All they need to do is string a couple of wins together and we'll be coming very, very close to that zone. It's alarming, quite frankly. And it's difficult to see where the next points are coming from.
It's Thursday now, just editing the ramble together, and thought that I'd end it with further recording. The press conferences have taken place for the Eastleigh game earlier on today at Maiden Castle. Anthony Limbrick and Joe Gray speaking to the media, in Robbie Stelling and Marco De Santos from BBC Radio Tees. And there's some interesting quotes there. I mean, Joe Gray saying that everything's still up in the air about his contract situation, saying that it'll be decided at the end of the season. Usually when players say that, it means one of two things. Either they don't want it to distract from the season, which is one possibility. The other is that he's more likely to go than stay. And in fairness to him, he's better than what he's got at the minute, in my opinion. I think if he were to leave, he'd go with best wishes, and he can do better than what he's got. And if he does go, he could quite easily go to a League 2 club and progress from there. The only positive for the club in that respect would be that a compensation fee would need to be sorted out, because he is still of the age where we would get one for him. Anthony Limbrick: if I wasn't seeing some positive signs, then I would be concerned, but I'm seeing a lot of good things. We're just not getting over the line with the results. Can we play better? Of course we can. We just need a win, home or away. I think it'll turn soon. Interesting, to say the least. In his defence, I would say that it's not his fault that the players aren't converting the chances, because we do create chances. I don't think he can be blamed for the players missing open goals virtually in the 6-yard box, or not converting the goal mouth scrambles that we've seen pretty much one or two of every game in the last sort of 3 months or so. We just don't seem to be able to convert those chances like we used to. We're getting one-on-ones, we're playing some half-decent stuff going forward. It's not spectacular, and if my rant in the car from earlier on in this ramble is anything to go by, clearly it isn't good enough what we're getting. However, there are chances taken, there are chances created, and if we were to take those chances, we get 2-3 goals on the board, and it may well kill the game off. But we don't take the chances, and if you don't take the chances at the end of the day, you're not going to score and you're not going to win games, and you'll get results like we had on Tuesday. And as I've already said, that second half, there was virtually nothing in that second half to get excited about. The fact that the stewards tackling a man to the ground in our stand was more entertainment than what was going on the pitch is just reflective of the standard of football we were watching. It wasn't the standard that we need and that we expect from the players playing for the club. It just wasn't there. So I get what he's saying about good signs in terms of the fact that we're creating some chances. I think Tuesday probably didn't reflect that as much as recent matches have. For example, the game against York, where Manny Desiree missed a couple. The game against Altrincham, we missed a couple. There are games where we have had the chances to score and we haven't. But overall, things have to change quite quickly, because he's right in saying that we need a win, home or away, as obvious as that sounds. But where that win is going to come from, can anyone realistically look at the next fixtures to the end of the season and say, that's a victory. Because I can't, personally. If it gets to Good Friday and we've got that horrible run at the end of the season, Oldham, Gateshead, Rochdale and Forest Green, we still need points if we're dragged into that battle at the bottom of the league and we still need points. That could be a problem. That could be a really big problem. Because those teams won't give us any leeway there. There's a reason why they're in the top 7, all of them. And it's because they take their chances and win games and we don't. So things will need to improve. They're quite right in that. We'll see. The other thing to say as well, Jack Robinson had a scan on his knee. Anthony Limbrick saying it looks like a bad one, in his words, and I really feel for him. Well, just have a look with left backs at the minute, isn't it, really? So Matt Bondswell doesn't get a chance really and doesn't really make any impact in the team. David Ferguson comes back in. We sign Jack Robinson. He's serviceable when he came in, but unfortunately went off with an injury. And now David Ferguson's back in. The one thing I would say as well, to reiterate what I said in the car on Tuesday, David Ferguson deserves credit for that performance because I think of everyone, with the exception of Reyes Cleary who came on in the second half, I think David Ferguson was probably the standout player in terms of his, well, going both ways to be fair, because he put in a couple of decent crosses, he was solid enough defensively. Both the Fylde goals came from our right hand side rather than our left. He can't really be blamed for that. I think if he carries that form on for the rest of the season, that will be something of a positive, as opposed to everything else that's been going on. So, just to round it off, thank you to anyone who's been listening. And fingers crossed for Eastleigh on Saturday. As I said in the car when emotions were running high, it's very difficult to see a victory on Saturday. It's very difficult to see any points going from Saturday. A point would be a good result at Eastleigh. Important to say as well, with regards to the head-to-head record between ourselves and Eastleigh, we've only ever beaten them twice, and both of those times came at home. We've never beaten them at the Silver Lake Stadium. And if you all remember what I said about Sutton, we had a dreadful record there as well. We've also had a dreadful record at Mill Farm. Seems to be a bit of a theme going on with sides in this division where we've never beaten them at their ground. We managed to end that hoodoo against Sutton. We obviously didn't manage to end that against Fylde. We beat them October 2023. That was a 3-1 victory at the Vic. We beat them in 2020 in January with a 2-1 victory at the Vic as well. Our last two results have been draws. Eastleigh haven't beaten us since February 2021, which was the promotion season as well. You know, I don't know really. It's very difficult to make a prediction. As I say, it's unlikely we'll get anything. A point will be a good result, but we'll have to wait and see. So for now, thank you very much for listening, and let's hope for a good result on Saturday.